Guys, we got such a great guest on for this show. I mean, he coached the Stephen Curry. I mean, you guys saw what he did. It was crazy. All the championships he's got, and you're just not gonna want to miss this episode. I'm telling you guys.
All right, so now we are joined by Shonn Brown. He's the assistant principal at Charlotte Christian School in North Carolina. He's also the basketball coach there. So, Shonn, I know summer just started a few weeks ago. School's out, so are you excited to be off right now?
We are definitely excited to be off. And this doesn't matter to me, but just a side note, I'm actually the principal.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, my background is blurred out, but you'll see like a little sign there about a quote from the principal, which is
Oh,
my
wow.
former boss. Yeah, so I moved into the seat. Not that that matters, but no, we're excited to be off. We are involved currently in a construction project where we are building a new upper school. So we've done many relocations of teachers and kind of their spaces for the coming school year. So it's pretty busy. As a matter of fact, just 5 minutes ago, we had two electrical engineers out here trying to figure something out right outside my office. And they were very apologetic about, I'm so sorry, we're interrupting. I'm like, you guys are fine. I need to get used to this for the next few months.
Yeah.
Do you have any big plans for yourself this summer, like family vacation, something like
Oh,
that?
yeah. So we already took 3 or 4 days. We unfortunately we had a kid in our basketball program. His father passed away, so we stayed 2 days more in Charlotte to attend his funeral, and then we went out to the lake with our family. We'll be headed somewhere at the end of the month as well. And my son just moved out to Portland, Oregon. So we're going to find a few days to go out and visit him. And then August, we got our daughter attends Baylor University. She's on their acro and tumbling team there. And they just won the national championship. So sick 'em Bears. So then we kind of wind it down with getting her back to Waco, Texas.
Like I said, you're the coach there, the varsity coach at Charlotte Christian. So I'm kind of curious, what got you into coaching?
What got me into coaching? That's a great question. So I played small time college basketball at a school named Clearwater Christian College. Just loved my time there, loved playing there. We were fortunate to go to the national tournament every year. And as I got close to graduation, I was a biology major and did really well in school. I was kept talking to my coach and my parents, and I'm like, I don't want to, go and embark on this journey of more school after school because it's kind of on a pre-med track. That's why I did biology. And as I kept doing the research of how much more school I would need to do, I was like, okay, I'm not feeling that right now. So my coach just mentioned to me, he's like, you should consider coaching, you should consider teaching. So I got an education minor. I was hired to teach in Augusta, Georgia at a school there. I taught all the high level sciences. Well, actually, it was middle school first, and eventually higher level sciences. I started out coaching a JV team and pretty much never looked back. I was there for 2 years, and I've been in Charlotte ever since. So I kind of fell into it, if you will, the coaching component. And then once I fell into it and really understood what kind of calling it was and the opportunities and really just the ability to impact kids' lives, I was definitely sold on that. So I've been at Charlotte Christian now for 23 years.
Wow. And what would you say your coaching style is, your biggest attribute?
Oh, wow. Coaching style. I'd like to say, well, very team oriented, allowing players to have input. And I would say I'm more of a defensive coach because I firmly believe, defense travels, rebounding travels. We're not going to make shots like Steph Curry every night, right? But if we can guard the basketball, stay in front of people, keep people out of the middle, and rebound the ball and get out in transition and score, I believe we could ultimately have success in the way our program defines that. Because in what I do here at Charlotte Christian, like we don't recruit players, so it's not like, okay, well every year we're going to have three high level recruits coming to our school. We're building from the ground up, and since we're a day school, there's natural entry and exit points where a kid may decide, oh, I'd love to go to Charlotte Christian. Or what I get a lot of in my student interviews are, how'd you hear about the school? Well, we Googled it and Steph Curry's name came up and we felt like we should check it out. So, yeah, but for me, trying to lead well, try to lead by example. We're a Christian school. So first and foremost, we're about sharing the gospel with our kids. So I would say, collectively as a staff, impacting our kids to push them closer to the cross. And it's a sweet thing to be able to use the vehicle of basketball to do that.
And you seem like a nice guy, but have you ever had any coaching meltdowns? Maybe like a chair thrown across the room or something?
You know what? Actually, I have not. And I've really never even had a technical foul. So, and I'll explain this. So 2 technical fouls were called. The first time it was my athletic director behind the bench yelling, and the referees thought it was me, which it wasn't. And the second time it was an assistant coach of mine who just was a little unsettled. I try to, model and lead by example. I'm by no means perfect at all, but I firmly believe in that. As you are communicating with officials and your players on the floor, everyone's watching you. So you need to try to put forth the greatest example that you possibly could. So I'll say different things to officials occasionally so my players will see and understand that I'm rooting for them. But I don't know that an official's really ever lost a game for us, because we can always point to a missed box out. We blew an assignment. So no, I'm loud depending on when I need to be, but I'm not a big yeller screamer. That's really not in me. If my team needs that, yes, but I'm not really wired to that's not me.
And you coach Steph Curry, and he's definitely one of my favorite players to watch. So when you first saw Steph, can you take us back your first impressions of him, like what he was like to you?
Oh, okay, great. So first impressions is I knew the family just a little bit because of the nature of what Del Curry, did in the NBA, and I'd followed him, in his college career as well. So first time I met Steph, and you're talking middle school. So really your mind goes to the son of a pro, and you never want to draw conclusions because we could list a ton of kids that are sons of pros that don't hoop, right?
Yeah.
But you try to, when they're looking at our school, you're hoping one day this kid could be awesome and I may have the chance to coach the kid. So first glance, just a nice kid, pretty small in terms of his stature. I could tell immediately loved basketball. Well, because they had always been around it, and particularly, Steph being the oldest. So first impression was, I'd love to see what this kid can do when he joins the middle school team. So, we had a couple of workouts where he could do that once they were enrolled in our school. And you could just immediately tell accuracy. He could shoot the ball, but wasn't very strong. He could handle the ball. But then over time, as you watched him year in, year out, you're like, okay, there's something really special about this kid.
Yeah, and like you said, he wasn't the biggest or strongest kid. So was it his mindset that made him the best player, his work ethic, or the player he was in high school?
Yeah. So I would say, and Stephen would agree with you, Stephen wasn't the best. He's not the best player I coached in high school. Now, fast forward to now, he's the best player in the world. But if you were comparing him to a ton of players, a lot of players that I've coached and others that are in the league and even not in the league, different years you would go, okay, somebody might have said this other kid may have been better than him at the time. I think a couple things set him apart. Yes, I think his mindset, he always had a growth mindset, as Carol Dweck, professor, I believe she's at Stanford, kind of points to in her book. He always had a growth mindset. He would take anything that could potentially be negative and try to turn it into a positive. So if my shot's not falling, well, then I need to drop some assists to my teammates. If my teammates may not have the greatest attitude because something's not going their way, how can I figure out to cheer them up and help them understand it's a team game, and everything you do individually, now we want to pour that in, lay our tools down together for the betterment of the team. So this is about collective effort, because my shot is a shot for the team. My missed shot, my made shot, me diving on the floor, my attitude, how I respond to my coach is all about team. So Stephen was very good about team. And I think you see that today. He is an outstanding teammate. And then you look at the effort And then he could take a team, put them on his back, and carry them because of his level of skill. He even did that in high school just because he had great shooting ability, and he's even a better shooter today than he was in high school. And we were really, really good when we had him in high school. Excuse me for 1 second. Just shut the door. So I would say work ethic, mindset are two things that definitely set him apart. Played with a little bit of a chip on his shoulder because I think he heard all the time, okay, well, is he big enough? Is he strong enough? And I think mentally having a mental toughness to say, that doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. I still can get it done on the court. My change of speed with the basketball, my ability to see a play ahead. I think that's another thing, that an intangible he possesses that makes him an outstanding player. He just sees things, and then really understanding how to play the game of basketball. Truly important. Like, I just took one of my former players to breakfast this morning, and he just mentioned to me, he's like, Coach, understanding how to play the game of basketball is so important. Other than, well, let's just hoop. There is a difference, understanding the angles of the game, the nuances of the game. It's a simple game, but there's a way to play the game of basketball. And I think we all would agree that Stephen Curry does that at a very, very high level.
I know this was quite some time back, but can you remember the first interaction that you had with Steph?
Oh, first interaction. Who I remember meeting his family outside, just kind of walking on the sidewalk, and probably just didn't think much of it then, other than, this is, a family that's interested in our school, because whoever you may be, we always try to treat our prospective families just as families. So whether it's Del Curry or whoever else, a family that would like to potentially engage in our school, we're going to treat them just like that, because no one wants to come on campus and, oh, look at him or look at her, and, oh, let me get an autograph, and why can't we? So I just kind of remember treating them as a family that had a genuine interest in their school, and a desire to put their kids in a Christian school. So first interaction, just a handshake. Great to meet you guys. Obviously, they did their due diligence, I'm pretty sure, in terms of, middle school right now, because they took a year where they moved back to Toronto so Dell could retire, and then move back to Charlotte. So they did their due diligence on where they wanted to place their kids, not just because of basketball, but because for the education, for the Christian environment, and all the other things that we utilize here at Charlotte Christian to equip and develop students. So that was really kind of the first interaction in terms of meeting the family.
And when you first met Steph, did the thought of him making it to the NBA ever cross your mind?
Well, when I first met both of them, it was like, okay, first of all, I don't know what these kids can do, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not going to say that crossed my mind with either one of them. As I had the privilege of coaching them through their high school years, you just got to see different things. And then when they got to college, I would say, okay, could I see, because there's a premium on shooting, these guys falling onto a team? Possibly. If anyone ever says, I knew Steph would be a two-time this and, MVP of the finals, like, I don't know that I believe that. I would say because of his work ethic, because of Seth's work ethic, was it far-fetched to believe that they could make a roster? I don't think so. Just because they work extremely hard, they've been around it for a very long time, and every year they came back in our program, they were better. Even when they didn't work with us, which they did quite a bit, and then even when they worked with their dad, they always brought something back to the table, and they really didn't do a lot of the whole AAU stuff, which I'm not knocking the AAU stuff, but they just took it to another level to come into the gym and work on their game, which today is a little bit, rare, because now it's all about someone has 5 trainers, and again, I'm not knocking trainers, but I think kids think they have to do so many things, when it really is, if I have these gifts and talents, let me cultivate the skills and the talents that I have, and shape those in a manner where I can contribute. And I think that was their attitude. We have these lofty goals in mind, but in the short term, I want to improve, I want to get better, and I want to make impact where I am currently, right? I heard one guy just say, wherever you are, be all there, be present. And the Currys definitely, I think they bought into that. When I'm at Charlotte Christian and I'm working or I'm playing, I'm going to be 100% present, and I'm going to give all that I can in all of those moments, which you see them doing that now, in the NBA.
Did you ever arrive to the gym early before practice and see Seth and Steph just shooting around, or after practice putting in the work, working
Oh,
on their
all the
craft?
time, all the time. So, we've shifted a little bit now, but when they both were here, we would have 6:30 a.m. workouts. I mean, there were even several times where they would say, "Hey, coach, we're leaving to go visit my grandma. We're still going to come in at 6:30. We're not leaving until after the workout." Like, they were so committed, and basketball was a priority. I'm not saying they put it over academics or over their faith walk, but it was such a priority. Like, they rarely, if ever, missed anything. So yeah, they'd be down there shooting. They'd be down, on the shooting machine. They'd be with me, one of their coaches. For a few years, Dell was actually on our coaching staff. I mean, what a great hire to have a legendary shooter, model, basketball icon, be able to impact our players in our program. So, I mean, all the time they were in the gym all the time. Saturday morning, coach, can we get in the gym? Sunday afternoon, coach, can we get in the gym? All the time, and it was quality over quantity. Okay, if I'm going to shoot, I want to make 300, but I'm also going to recognize how many did it take me to get there. So even the metrics and the statistics were very important to them, and that's really how you improve. You can go in and shoot and say you kind of worked, but then you really can go in and be committed to the stats of that. Oh, okay, I made 300 out of 425, and now you can see with that metric how you are improving incrementally, and then you kind of mesh that with kind of the statistics we would utilize throughout their gameplay in terms of season, which really helps you to improve, because we all know that the percentages and the numbers just don't lie. They always tell the truth, right?
If you can remember, can you take us back to Steph's first high school game that you coached?
Oh boy, that's let me think about this. All right, so it would have been his sophomore year, because we made a collective decision for him to play JV as a freshman. He was good enough skill wise, in that JV year to make the team, but we felt like giving him a year to run a team would pay dividends in our program down the line. And I also think that's another thing in this day and age people buy into. If I'm not on varsity as a freshman, I don't have a chance. It's not true. Stephen Curry did it.
Yeah.
Here at Charlotte Christian. So I don't know that I necessarily will remember who we played. I'll just talk a little bit about his first season. He came into fully recognizing and wanting to learn more and more about how to lead the guys that he was going to kind of be the coach on the floor with. So I'll start with this. At the end of his JV season, his freshman year, his first varsity game would have been him being pulled up to our state tournament. We were playing, I think it was Ravenscroft High School out of Raleigh. I don't even remember what round it was, but we put him in the game, and this was kind of towards the end of the game. He gets a steal, comes down the floor, pulls up maybe 3 feet behind the 3-point line, just nothing but net. And again, it's towards the end of the game. And I remember nudging my assistant coach, who now works at another school in town. And I said, this kid has the keys to our program now. So that was his first varsity game, but coming off of a JV season. And then we rolled into the spring, going to team camps, and then rolled into his first official season as a varsity player that following November. So that would have been the first time he participated in a varsity basketball game, which was awesome, because you get your feet wet. We wanted to let him know that there's definitely a place for you in our program, and what better way than to throw him into a game. We didn't win that game, but I think it gave him even some more confidence to say, all right, I'm ready for this. And the coaches believe in me. And my first varsity game, I just did that, man. That's kind of a great way to start, right? You got a crowd there. We're just throwing you out there. And then, he started the next 3 years, and we had a great, great run. throughout the next 3 years of high school. A lot of exciting times, fun times, a lot of traveling, playing in great tournaments, loving on each other, just great high school moments that I think all those guys would look back and cherish those times. And I mean, he's had so much success in college and NBA. I don't know, maybe he'll forget some of the high school moments, but some of the high school years, some of your best years you can refer back to. And those are all great memories that we have.
What was the craziest shot that he hit in a high school game that you can recall?
I would say we were playing in a Cracker Box gym. This is sophomore or junior year. Was it him? Yeah, we ran a play actually for one of his good friends still to this day, for another kid on our team. Kid loses the ball on the left wing. Oh no, he gets double covered. Yeah, there's double coverage. And he fumbles the ball, and somehow Stephen gets it on the left wing, and he's falling back and shoots a 3 up at the buzzer. Money. We won the game, and we're just like, oh, look at this kid. Awesome. I would say that was probably, when I think about it, one of the craziest, just because guys were hanging on him. He was falling back. But he did a lot of sensational things when he was in high school. Like his dad's foundation sponsored a tournament that was a high-level tournament in Charlotte, and our team was fortunate enough to always get invited and do really well. I think we won it like 3 or 4 or 5 times against some of the high-level public schools in town. And when you just watched him handling the ball, some of the passes he would make, just really smooth. As Coach Bob McKillop always said throughout the recruiting period, he's a diamond in the rough that just needs to be refined. But in high school, he was great. He was a great teammate. He was a great player. He was a really good student, behaved well, in the hallways and the classroom, really tried to work on his faith. So I just can say enough positive things about him as a player and as a teammate.
So in the NBA today, when Steph makes a big shot, he does like a little shimmy dance move. So in high school, did he have any signature dance moves when he hit a nice shot?
Not really signature moves that I can remember, other than maybe clapping or just kind of pumping the fist with all his other guys. I think maybe it was his first or second year he got to Davidson. He started with the Philippians 413 and all of that, but I don't really recall that in high school.
So we've been talking a lot about Steph, but I don't think Seth gets enough credit that he deserves. He's always just under Steph's spotlight, I guess. What are your thoughts on that? Because you got a chance to coach both of them.
Yeah. So again, in high school, like Seth still has the record for the most points in a single season. His senior year, we didn't have a true point guard, and we relied heavily on him. And I remember having a conversation with him where, all right, coach, I'll do it. So he would come down, get us into the offense. And then I'm like, well, I also need you to score. Like, you can't just start the offense. Like, you're a best scorer, shooter as well. So he averaged about 24 or 25 a game his senior year. And we have like some stat things that are some stats signage that's out in our rotunda area in our main gym. And his name is still up there. What I'll say about Seth is, even more to the point of playing with a chip on your shoulder, that's really him, because you look at the success his older brother had. You look at the bouts they would have, and I've been over at their home before, and they're in the backyard just going at it to a point where I think they had to take a break from that because it would just get so heated and fueled. But you want that, right? You want that energy, and now you have that brotherly tension as well. But if you look at Seth's path, being recruited, certain schools, then you have Coach McKay coming in and saying, I'm going to do all the recruiting myself here. We want you at Liberty University. We're going to build the program basically around you. And then he goes out and he leads the country in scoring of all true freshmen, right? So you would think that in and of itself proves himself. Oh, well, okay, wait a minute. Now I'm going to decide to transfer and go to a high-level ACC school and show the world, like, okay, I am good enough and I can do this. Oh, so now I'm not drafted. Now I need to go, D League, G League? Okay. So then he goes there and he plays for first it was the Erie Bayhawks, I believe, played for the Santa Cruz Warriors, and then he leads them in scoring. So his path was just different. And the whole time you got Stephen in the background going, this dude can play. This dude can play. It's a different path, but you guys will see this dude can play. This dude can play. And then all of a sudden you look at all of his work and you see that now he was on this team. He got a contract, which I think maybe it started out with the Kings, if I'm not mistaken. Play with Portland for a little bit. Play with the Mavericks, right? Play with the Sixers. Great, did great. Then left there and played for another team. So could he possibly be a journeyman? I mean, I don't really know the answer to that. I just know wherever he's been planted, he's contributed in a high fashion on those teams and proven himself to be a really good player that I would envision him being in the league for quite some time.
And going back to Steph, he was only a 3-star recruit coming out of high school, and I think his size played a big factor into that. So I'm pretty curious. Do you think size actually matters when it comes to playing sports, or really doing anything in life?
I think it. I love to talk about the size of the heart, that and you talk about just we all have a brain, right? But it's how do we utilize and the mentality that we have. So does size matter to a certain degree? Probably so, depending on who's recruiting whatever kid, right? So different universities, different colleges have different things that they want to fit the mold of their program. And then I think there are coaches that say, this kid possesses the intangibles that I like. So whether he's 6'1" or 6'4", I think he can get it done. So we all can go back and clearly see when we look at Curry's size in high school, it didn't matter. It didn't matter. And I think there's a lot of guys in the league that we could refer to and go back to and say, did it really matter? Earl Boykins, Spud Webb. And now we're going, are you almost reducing to the absurd because of their size? Well, no. I mean, look at those guys and their height. But to me, it's about the skill level, right? I think you have to be highly skilled. You need elite level skill to play in college. And then you need beyond that to be a pro. And both of the Curry boys possess elite skills, and we watch that night in, night out as they compete at the highest level. I think your inner circle plays a little bit of a role. I think parenting plays a role. I think your value system, your core values play a role. And that's why you see some guys that probably are good enough end up not necessarily making it. And then you go other guys, oh, so-and-so might have been better, but then you go back and you trace what kind of happened, life experiences, who they surrounded themselves with. So do I think there's a good recipe? I do. Do I know all the exact ingredients? I do not, because I'm not, an NBA coach, and I'm not a college coach. We're just in the business of trying to impact students at our level. And we're blessed and fortunate to be able to do that. And we would like to think that here at Charlotte Christian, we do a pretty good job, but it's definitely a calling. It's fun. My wife and I are empty nesters now, because my wife will even still ask me, why are you coaching? Because I love it. I love it. I love coaching. I love being in the gym with our players, running our program, impacting our guys. Like I just had breakfast yesterday morning with a current rising senior. So I always take the rising seniors out for breakfast individually, just to talk about life and talk about what are your goals for the upcoming season. So to be able to impact those guys. And now the other end, my wife and I are going to a wedding in September. One of my former players who used to coach with me here at Charlotte Christian, he's getting married. So there's just a beauty all the way through. And I can remember when he moved from California to Charlotte, came to Charlotte Christian, started out as a JV player. This kid ends up going to Wofford, earning a scholarship, playing for Coach Young, getting married in 2 months. So the coaching component for me is just living life with all of those kids, knowing the families, being able to share the gospel with them, and then watching the fruit of that as they go through life, hopefully at some point being able to impact the culture for Christ. So that's the fruit of what, Shonn Brown, Mrs. Brown, and the people that are involved in our program here get to see from the guys that go through the program.
How often do you look back and just think about I had an impact on someone who has 4 rings, or just someone who made it to the NBA?
Not a whole. I mean, people bring it up quite a bit, but me personally, not a whole lot, because every male that I've been able to encounter and play a small role in, they're all very important to me. even ones that I haven't talked to in 3 years. And then there's a host of them that I probably talk to once a month or once every 2 months or wherever. I think they all are uniquely gifted and fearfully and wonderfully made. So, the Stephen Curry piece, cool, because he is a legendary icon. I mean, arguably one of the best players that will ever play the game. Yeah. He has his unique gifts and he has his impact, but just like he has his impact, there's another kid who's up in East Carolina right now, and he's a doctor. There's another kid. I don't know if you saw the documentary of 13 minutes. One of Stefan's closest friends in high school played college ball, had the dream of playing professionally, and did in the Dominican Republic and one other place, but then went into cardiac arrest during a summer league pro-am game, and almost didn't make it. Now he travels around speaking to kids about the importance of CPR, having defibrillators, etc. So he's literally saving lives. So you just look at, okay, impact here, impact there. They're all uniquely gifted. And again, you're just blessed. And that's, to me, it's the beauty of coaching. Like this year's team that we have over the summer, it's like we won a few games, we lost some games, but it's a radically different team. But it's awesome to be able to refer back, or like if Stefan comes to town and say, hey, would you stop by and talk to the team? And I'll tell the guys this some of the time. No one knows any of your names on the roster right now. You know what? They're playing against Seth Curry and Stephen Curry and Anthony Gill and Trey Fields and Uyo Desamwan and Omar Carter, and Taylor Wagner and Willis Hall. They're playing against all these other guys that left a legacy in our program. And now the question is, the baton's been passed to you. So what are you going to do with it? So the Terrell Browns and all these other kids that have gone through, the Blake Prestons in our program, they've moved on and living life. Some are married, some, just gainfully employed and trying to honor Christ in whatever they do. So now we're in a different era of kids that are now going to build off of the legacy that will continue on with Charlotte Christian. It'll continue on whether I'm the coach or not, or whoever, however, but certainly blessed and fortunate to be in this position to still impact kids.
I think that's awesome that you just look at all your players with like the same respect, even if they're not like or successful or not. You had an impact in their life, and whatever happened, you still respect them.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Like any player ever wants to come back. When we get invited to a wedding, unless just something comes up, we're going to support them. Actually, you probably heard a little bit of background noise here. That was one of my assistants who played for me, who now works alongside me. We were just going through, because we have a camp in 2 weeks, and we were going through some camp logistics. So I love it. I absolutely love it. Having players come back. And it's funny right now because they'll say to me, Coach, as you get older, you're getting a little softer. Like 8 years ago, you really would have gotten after that kid, and you kind of mellowed out. And there's this thing called COVID. Now we have a huge mental health challenge and anxiety. So you have to take a little bit of a different approach with kids. Still push them, still hold them accountable, still let them know that you love them. But I think the whole my way or the highway, kids want to know why. And you should be okay with being able to explain, well, why are we doing this? Right? In a respectful manner, just to help them understand, because we want to see that progressive growth from our players as they grow into manhood. So I would say it's definitely shifted just a little bit. And, still, me and what I'm doing here in my calling, want to have a desire to continuously better understand the life of a teenager, because none of us can resonate with what is it like to be a teenager going through a pandemic like this. You just can't do it. You can only acknowledge it and try to understand, but to say I've lived the experience as an 18-year-old, no, I have no clue for that. So we try to understand them, talking to parents more, engaging them and meeting them where they are, and then just walk the road together and say, at the end of the day, this is about what we value. What are your goals? If you would love to play after college, awesome. If you decide that, hey, that's really not for me, that's just as awesome. And you want to attend college and do whatever it is that you're going to major in and try to figure out what success looks like for you, that's awesome as well. So again, we're just very blessed, fortunate, privileged to have the ability to impact kids at a school such as Charlotte Christian. So I couldn't say enough about the school and just the current boys that we have in the program, and then just the host of men that have gone through and built a strong legacy here in our program.
And when either Steph or Seth retires from basketball, do you hope they come back and coach with you one day?
Yeah, quite frankly, I don't know if I'll still be coaching. Like, I have this thing I talk with my wife about. She's like, "Are you ever going to stop and just kind of pump the brakes, and then when you get like 60 or something, then go back and then they wheel you out when you're 85?" Like, so would it be awesome if they came back to coach? Yes. I don't know that that's really on their list. I mean, number one, they'd have to live in Charlotte, which I'm not sure. I think Stephen loves the Bay Area so much, and I'm not sure where Seth will land. But if any of my guys come back and want to coach, and I've already had 3 of them do this, it's awesome to have them. And now, because now you're viewing the game from a different perspective, which is unique, because you're not a player anymore. You're a coach now. In your mind, you're saying, "I can shoot better than all y'all here," which leads me down another path. See, like, Stefan's never beat me in horse. And if we were able to get him on a podcast here, he'd have to own up to last time we played horse. I'm not going to tell you when it was, but Coach Brown beat him. So I'm never playing him again, because then I might not be able to say last time we played, I didn't win, but he'll have to live with that Coach Brown took him down. But that'd be great if they ever had a desire to want to come back. I'm just happy when they decide to stop by when they're actually in town. I mean, those guys have so much to do. They're highly sought after. I don't know if you were able to watch the movie Hustle. Seth's even in that movie Hustle with Adam Sandler. It's on Netflix, which is pretty cool to watch him there. I mean, there's a ton of NBA players on there, but when you know someone, it becomes more personal to you. So when I'm watching their games, it's not just watching the game for the sake of watching the game. It's like, yep, that's pretty cool. I knew that was in him. Or they turn the ball over like, "Oh, why'd he make that pass right there? Like, you're better than that. Like, come on, man." So it's just more personal because you have a vested interest, in those players, which is fun to watch. But again, West Coast, it's tough. And my son just moved out to the West Coast. It's staying up for those games. It's brutal. As I get older, thank goodness for DVR, right? Because now in the playoffs, I'm not missing a game. But regular season, it's like, okay, I may sit this one out and watch it tomorrow.
Do you still reach out to Seth or Steph today, like before games or after games?
Yeah. So I have. I mean, Seth, happy Father's Day. I'd probably say I communicate more with Stephen than Seth, and that was just kind of by the nature of our relationships. Not that I treat either one of them differently. It's just kind of the nature of what it is. So even just last week, they're engaged in trying to help the Howard golf program. So they've done an event out at Pebble Beach, and I was fortunate enough to go out there last year. Wasn't able to make it this year, but I wanted to get him a little bit of info, so texted him, and then the next day he was like, "Coach, thanks for the reminder. Thanks for the heads up. Thanks for letting me know, whatever." So yeah, I mean, those guys are harder to get a hold of. And I'm not one to think about, if I text him, am I sitting here waiting on my phone? When's he gonna text me back? Is he gonna I don't operate that way. So they could take their time. I'll see you when I see you. Like, they're gonna retire Steph's jersey, I think Davidson, August 31st. My wife and I, we'll plan on attending that just to support him. Would it be great to spend some time with him? Yes. If it doesn't work out, I understand. I get it. I mean, there's a lot of people pulling at his coattails. I understand it. So, whatever happens there, happens there. So I would say, yes, there's definitely some connectivity. Just kind of depends. We went and watched them play when they were here playing the Hornets, which I believe the Hornets beat them. And then every year I try to get to 2 or 3 games. We've been out to games in the Bay Area as well, and he's been fortunate enough to, accommodate us, just to come and watch him play. So that's been great, still to be a part of what he's doing. But like I said, those guys are extremely busy and have lots going on and trying to impact people on a number of levels. So special stuff there, great stuff. But I'm happy if any of my players, come back and say, "What's up, coach?" or try to catch some of the guys that are still playing in college right now. especially after maybe having some of their seasons shortened during the pandemic. So it'll be fun to get out this year to watch a lot of guys that I can get to see, the last year and a half just due to COVID.